Today I'm going to be talking about the three defining characteristics of worry and two types of worry. Hi everyone. Today what I want to talk about is a definition of worry, understanding what worry is, the three defining characteristics of worry, and two different types of worry. Now, before we get into that, just a couple of disclosures to go over. I am a registered psychologist in British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from a doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those two things out of the way, let's start talking about worry. Now, this is going to be the first of a longer series of videos about worry and about worry management. But the way I like to start by talking about worry management is by talking about a definition of worry. Really understanding of what it is that we are talking about when we talk about worry. So, have you ever thought about what worry actually is? Now, that's one of the first questions I ask my clients when we get into worry management is I ask them to provide me with a definition of worry. And usually there's a bit of a pause and a look of confusion because I think most people know what worry feels like. And everybody knows kind of how it feels to be worried. But rarely do people ever stop to think about what worry actually is. And that's what I want to talk about today so that people can have a clear sense and a clear idea of what I'm talking about when I talk about worry. So the first thing about worry is that worry is a thought process. It is something that happens in your head. It is something that you are thinking. Now, worry tends not to be just a single thought. It tends to be a collection of thoughts. Now, that can be the same thought looped over and over and over and over again, or it can be one thought leading to another, leading to another, leading to another, until you get this scenario building. Now, for example, I wake up one morning, I've got a really bad headache, and I think to myself, what if this is a brain tumor? What if there's something wrong? Now, typically with worry, the next thought isn't, well, I wonder what I'm going to have for breakfast. The next thought is either going to be looping over, oh my goodness, what if this is a tumor? What if this is cancer? What if this is something bad? Or spiraling into a negative scenario about what might happen if I have to get treatment and what would happen to my family, those types of things. So the first sort of defining feature of worry is that it is a collection of thoughts. It is a thought process and a collection of multiple thoughts. The second defining characteristic of worry is that worry tends to be future oriented. And what that means is that people don't worry about things from the past typically. They worry about stuff that's going to happen in the future. Now, sometimes people will stop me and they'll say, oh, hold on a second. I worry about things from my past. But usually when people say that they're worrying about stuff from their past, what they're actually talking about is they're worrying about how the things from the past are going to affect them in the future. So essentially, how the implications of events that have happened in the past and what impact they're going to have on a person's future. So for example, if I'm worrying about having been fired from a job 3 years ago, it's not so much that I'm worrying about having been fired from the job 3 years ago. It's that I'm worrying about how I'm going to be able to explain that I was fired from that job 3 years ago in the upcoming job interview. So now another small but sort of obvious component of this is that worry tends to be about future negative events. People don't worry about positive things happening, right? So rarely do people ever worry, oh, what if this job goes really well, or what if this relationship turns out great? What if my friends are really impressed with me? People don't worry about those things. People usually only worry about negative things happening. So that's the second defining feature of worry. Worry is about future negative events. Now, the third defining feature of worry is that worry is associated and accompanied by anxiety. Anxiety is the emotional result of the worry process. Now, this is an important concept, an important point, because a lot of times people will use the terms worry and anxiety interchangeably. I'm worried and anxious. And that's probably because people usually experience worry and anxiety at the same time. But worry and anxiety aren't the same thing. Worry is a thought process, and anxiety is the emotion that results from that thought process. So you can't be worrying without being anxious, but you can be anxious without worrying. So I hope that makes sense. That worry is the thought process, anxiety is the emotional result that comes from that thought process. So that's the definition of worry that I work by. That's the definition of worry that I use when I'm working with my clients on worry management. Worry is this collection of thoughts or doubts about future negative events that are accompanied by anxiety. So, with that definition of worry out of the way, I want to talk about two types of worry. Now, the first type of worry is what we call a type 1 worry. Now, a type 1 worry is a worry about a current, actual, real problem. A problem that's happening now, a problem that I am dealing with in this moment. So, for example, I get my credit card bill in the mail, and the credit card bill is for $300, but I only have $20 in my bank account. And so I start to worry, how is it that I'm going to be able to pay this credit card bill? So that worry about being able to pay the credit card bill, that's an example of a type 1 worry. It's a worry about a problem that's actually occurring. Now, the other type of worries are called type 2 worries. Now, type 2 worries are worries about future or potential problems. Problems that haven't happened yet, problems that may never happen. So, for example, I get my credit card bill in the mail, and the credit card bill is for $300. I have $320 in my bank account, so I can pay that credit card bill. But I start thinking to myself, well, that was a close one. What if next month I'm not able to pay my credit card bill? And what if that has a negative effect on my credit rating? And what if that means I'm not going to be able to get a car loan, which means I'm not going to be able to get a good job because I can only get a job that I can commute to by walking or taking transit. And so I'm not going to be able to sort of have a very successful career, and no one will want to be with me. And because don't have a good job, and because I'm not able to afford a house, because I won't be able to get a mortgage, and then I'll get depressed because no one wants to be with me, and I'll lose my job, and I'll become homeless, and I'm living under a bridge. None of that stuff has actually happened, but I'm worrying about it happening. And that's that sort of chaining and that spiraling of thoughts that I talk about when I talked about earlier in terms of the definition of worry. So type 1 worries about actual, current, real problems. Type 2 worries are worries about future or potential problems. So you may be wondering, okay, so what? We've got this definition of worry and these two types of worries. What do I do with this? How does this help? Well, the key to understanding type 1 and type 2 worries isn't so much in terms of being able to define the worries, but when we talk about worry management tools, we're going to use slightly different tools depending on whether or not the worry is a type 1 worry or the worry is a type 2 worry. And so that's why it's important early on to get into the habit of being able to recognize your worries, think about your worries, and define the worries as either, is this a type 1 or is it a type 2? Now, sometimes worries can start out as type 1, and as part of that spiraling, they go into becoming type 2 worries. We call those mixed worries. So there's a component of it that's a type 1 and a component of it that's a type 2. So for now, the idea is to just spend some time thinking about your worry. And so this is what I encourage clients to do, is to use this information by just trying to be more aware and more mindful of your worries. And when you catch yourself worrying, to even just try and think about, is this a type 1 worry? Is this a type 2 worry? What that can do is it can help you disengage from the worry, even for a moment, and for you to start thinking a bit more analytically and a bit more critically about the worry. Rather than getting caught up in the worry experience, you're now kind of observing it and thinking about it differently. Even just by simply being able to say, this is a type 1 worry or this is a type 2 worry. So I hope that has been helpful. This is, like I said earlier at the beginning of the video, this is just the start of the worry management series that I'm going to be working on. Next video, we'll start talking about a model for understanding how worry works, and we'll talk about the importance of worry awareness training. So if you're interested in seeing some of the other videos, hit that subscribe button or that notification bell, and you'll be alerted and notified when the next videos come out. So I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.